Let's explore exactly where this is heading now. Borgers Nhamirre is joining us now from Maputo. He's a researcher at the Institute for Security Studies Africa. Borgers, good having you in the program. What's your initial assessment of the decision from the Constitutional Council earlier today?
Good evening. Thank you. The decision was expected. We could imagine that the Constitutional Council would decide in this direction, not because the evidence were there, but basically because the Constitutional Council is not independent at all, politically speaking. It's controlled by the ruling party, Frelimo. So this is something that was already expected. The discussion was about the figures, how it could change. But the decision as it was something already expected.
So the Constitutional Council, just looking at those numbers, they slightly reduced the share of the vote that the ruling party candidate, Daniel Chapo, got. How exactly did they arrive at this outcome, knocking down from 71% of votes cast to around 65?
Well, they said they conducted their own investigation. They did a reconciliation of figures, the one submitted by the National Electoral Commission, compared it to the other data submitted by the political party and local observation groups. However, they lack transparency. So the work they did, it was not observed either by the political parties who are the competitors or by the observation organization that are registered. So this is an investigation conducted by the Constitutional Council, which resulted in changing slightly the data. However, it was not transparent. So beyond trusting what they say, there's no tangible evidence that can convince both the competitors and the common citizen that this information is based is factual based.
Borgers, just to be clear, when the Independent Electoral Commission gets all of this data, right, from different polling stations, are they required by law to publish the outcome of the election per polling station, or do they just give an aggregated sum at the end of the election process?
They should publish. The problem is that there is no a centralization of all this data. So it means Mozambique had got 25,000 polling stations. So each polling station published the information, which consists in just posting the result sheet. Imagine the polling station was a classroom. So they just post the result sheet by the door of the classroom. However, after a few hours, the papers are no longer there. So what doesn't exist, and this is what for transparency, a lot of people are claiming for, is having these result sheet published, for example, in an online platform, in a cloud, so that everyone can access it and see it. They publish it, but after a few minutes, it's removed by someone. No one protects it.
Right. So ahead of the election outcome, the opposition candidate, Venancio Mondlane, warned that there will be violence if the Constitutional Council essentially upheld the victory of the Frelimo candidate, which effectively they have 3 or 4 hours ago. Now that this has happened, what's his next step?
Well, maybe not talking about the next step, but about what is happening now. What is happening now in Maputo, the capital city, is that the outskirts of the city under siege. So militaries were deployed to try to contain unrest, but we see footage of a police car being burned down, toll gates being burned down, a bank branch being burned down. So at this point, we cannot have a complete assessment because of security, no one goes out. But I think tomorrow it will be possible to see all the impact of this conflict. So the question is how long it will take. But as I'm speaking, Maputo is burning outside, not the central Maputo, like the central town, but the outskirts of the city is completely in a political unrest and violence. So I expect that we will have a lot of destruction happening. And for example, the ruling party offices in neighborhoods in the outskirts of Maputo are being burned down. Police stations are being burned down. Weapons stolen from the police station. So this is a very complicated situation.
Indeed. The EU observers in late October, they put out a statement saying that they found irregularities during counting, an unjustified alteration of election results at polling station and at district level. Now, here we are 3 or 4 hours ago, the Constitutional Council says evidence of irregularities that were submitted by the opposition didn't cover the entire country. So given those two data points and the lack of transparency you pointed out a little earlier, how do we reconcile these two positions?
Well, this means the Constitutional Council is not independent because there are a lot of evidence. You have just mentioned the EU observation mission, but we can also quote local organizations. So many, they just brought evidence of ballot box stuffing and other kind of irregularity. What happened is that the Constitutional Council says that these irregularities were not enough to change the result of the election, generally speaking. This is the same narrative that is presented. And the consequence of that is that people, they don't trust anymore in the electoral bodies, including in the Constitutional Council. But it means the Constitutional Council, is not independent enough to conduct a due diligence that is trusted by people and competitors.